so now we also have the new tax regime where we expect the individuals to opt for it. So how would he do it, or what are the benefits of this new tax regime?
Subhash, this is a very important point to note that under the new tax regime, the taxpayer has an option to select that. It gives you certain advantages like a lower tax rate. So the tax rates are all available on the website. But to give you an example, the tax rate for a under the normal tax rate, above 5 lakh income in the case of a normal taxpayer, the tax rate is 20%. But under the new tax regime, between 5 lakh to 7.5 lakh, the tax rate is at only 10%. But if you opt for the new tax regime, then you are not allowed to take certain deductions or exemptions. So the taxpayer will have to choose which is more beneficial to him. If he has got deductions under ATC, he has made investments under National Pension Scheme, if he has got donations, and if he has health insurance premia and all those other kind of deductions that he has, or if he has interest from housing loan. So these kind of deductions that are available in the normal tax regime are not available in the new tax regime. So the new tax regime, the tax rate are lower, but deductions are not available. In the old tax regime, the deductions are all available, but the tax rates are higher. So he has to weigh that, and then he can go ahead. So there is a simple, for ITR 1 and 2, it is a very simple thing. He can just, there is a checkbox, he can say opt for the new tax regime. If he does that, then automatically the deductions and all that are grayed out, he will not be able to claim them. Automatically the tax that is calculated is on the basis of the new tax regime. So this is a very simple process. And if he has to see what is the difference, there is a link that we have given on the Income Tax India, the main website, that is www.incometaxindia.gov.in. In there is a tax calculator. He can use the tax calculator and put in all the figures to see what is the net tax rate that he may have to pay.
Okay.
And if he finds that it is beneficial, then he can go in for the new tax regime.
Okay. So sir, now let's say someone chooses to opt for the new tax regime, but then decides that perhaps he's better off in the older regime itself. So then what is the way out for him?
So as far as the salaried person is concerned, that is any person having ITR 1 and 2, he can opt in and opt out. It's a very flexible kind of an arrangement. Supposing this year new tax regime was beneficial, and next year for him the old tax regime is more beneficial, he can keep opting in and opting out. However, in the case of a business taxpayer, any person who is filing ITR 3 or ITR 4 or maybe ITR 5 and 6, let us first talk about the individuals. They have to file a Form 10IE that has to be filed prior to filing the return. And then this once he has opted in for the new tax regime, he can, if he opts out, then he can't again come back to the new tax regime for the next 5 years. So it is like a lock-in kind of a thing. If he is supposing this year he is still in the old tax regime, next year he can definitely opt in. But the year after, if he is opting out, then he can't again opt for the new tax regime. So it is like a slightly more, I would say, fixed kind of a locked-in kind of a period for a business person. But for salaried individuals, he can opt in and opt out. There is no requirement for filing any form. Every year he can change his decision.
Okay. Now, let's say, sir, there's a taxpayer who has who's a salaried taxpayer who also has income from other sources. Would she also be required to file her Form 10IE in that case?
No. So just to clarify, for anyone who is filing ITR 1 or 2, there is no separate form to be filed. There is only a checkbox in the return itself where he can opt for a new tax regime. It is only for ITR 3 or ITR 4, people having business, a separate Form 10IE has to be filed.
Okay. Now, we have talked a lot about pre-filling of returns with data that the department already has, that it has collected from a lot of entities. Now, what if a particular taxpayer finds that this pre-filled data is incorrectly filled? What can he do about it?
So there are two things. One is that in the annual information statement, on the online portal itself, there is a facility for giving feedback. So the taxpayer can say that this data is not correct, and then based on that, the data in the annual information statement gets corrected. Since we are pulling that data from the annual information statement, that prefill also will change, but that will take time.
Okay.
However, what we have also done is that none of the pre-filled data is fixed. It is all editable. So the pre-filled data that has come in from various sources, the taxpayer can go and edit. He can make changes, he can add, he can remove a particular row, he can, supposing something was omitted, he can add. Suppose something was wrongly entered and he wants to delete it, that is also possible. So as far as the ITR is concerned, whatever the taxpayer is filling is the final value. The pre-filling is only meant to aid him. It's only meant to help him. Okay. And it helps as something like you have forgotten something, it is available. You need to cross-check or cross-verify.
Right.
He must have all the original sources, bank statement, everything with him, so that he can cross-verify. And if there is any mistake, he can edit it in the ITR.
So one common issue that we find is people start to file the returns, and then sometimes they face issues like they're unable to find the schedule, or the tax is being calculated at the normal rate instead of the special rate, and cases like that. So how should a taxpayer address that?
So as I was talking to you about the software utility on the online form or the offline form, first the wizard or the helps you select which are the schedules that are applicable to you. I'll give you a simple example. Supposing the question that is being asked is that, do you have any house property rental income? Supposing you have said no, then automatically the house property schedule is not relevant for you. But supposing you didn't understand the question and you made a mistake and you realize that no, you have to enter rental receipts, then you can always go back and select that particular schedule. There is a schedule tab, and there are list of schedules that are going to be visible to you are available, and you can make changes. As soon as you enable a schedule, that will become available for you to enter the data. So that is one thing. And the second thing is that you should also know that nothing in the ITR is very flexible. You can always go back and correct your mistakes. So there is a draft also available. You can save, you can take a printout of that ITR. You can verify again whether all the details you have filled is correct or not. Then you can go back and make some changes. If you have omitted something or made a mistake, you can change it.
Right.
दोस्तों, ये मेरी 7 किताब है जो कि amazon.com पर पब्लिश है। आप इसे डाउनलोड करके पढ़ सकते हैं। इन किताबों के लिंक्स इस वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए हुए हैं। इन 7 किताबों में से 5 किताब मनी मैनेजमेंट पर है, यानी पैसा निवेश करके अधिक पैसा कैसे कमाएं पर आधारित है।